Well, welcome back to the Baco Motorsports Power Hour. I'm Mike Griffith, longtime Bakersfield, California motorsports writer, emphasis on long time. Uh, Blake Bowser from Famoso is not here. He's coming back from Southern California where he was getting T-shirts for the event printed this morning. And I knew that might happen, so I went through super secret channels and got Mindy Fry to call in. Are you here, Mindy?
I'm here.
Mindy Fry, long-time racer too. Not as long as I'm old, not nearly that old. But
You got to be careful. That sounds almost like long in the tooth.
no. I said not nearly as old as I am. You know that. Your husband might be almost that old. No, got to do that.
Careful, he's listening.
Is he? Well,
Oh, yeah.
of course he is. So, but you've got a new ride. Mindy has been drag racing since you were a teenager. So
Yes, I've been drag racing a long time now, and over 30 years.
over 30 years, we want to keep that secret, but we've got pictures to prove it. But you've been running funny cars the past few years. You were most recently in the Dark Horse, which is a strange funny car in itself because it had an Arius engine and nobody else runs Arius engines. You actually won a Saturday Night Nitro in this car a couple years ago.
Yeah, and Smokey's Dark Side Challenger. It had a Arius Hemi Chevy in it. We were the only ones with that configuration, and that engine had never been developed for that purpose, and we didn't have that much, funds to do that. But I'm really impressed with what we were able to accomplish with it. Being kind of behind the funding 8 ball, so it was pretty great.
You got that, and then it's been announced that now you're going to be into the high-speed motorsports AA field dragster or Nostalgia Top field dragster, which Bill Dunlap has been running for the past several years quite effectively. How'd that come about, and what are you looking forward to in that ride?
Well, I got a call from Tom in December, early January, and said, "Hey, let's talk about you getting in the car, and coming back home to this team." I'm thrilled. Like, I cannot believe, I still pinch myself that this is actually happening. Yeah, as you know, or you might not know, that this team gave me my shot in Top Fuel in 2004. And in Root Beer, Frank Hedges' Master Cam Fueler, and we were able to put that car into the 250-mile-an-hour club, which was cool. So I'm just thrilled to be back in that seat with this team, and looking forward to running some 50s and taking the championship away from Bartone.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I was remembering it, and then I couldn't remember when you did that 250, and then I looked it up because I remember talking to you when it happened and how thrilled you were to be part of that. Back there in 2004, that was a big deal to be. I think there were, 8 drivers that got into the original 250 club for the front motor dragsters, right?
Yeah, they actually did extend it to 16. I believe I was the 7th to make it in. Once they started running 250, they pretty much knocked it out in a year, but I was glad to be in the top half of that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. And since then you did that for a while, and then you ended up in a different dragster and the funny cars kind of started your career in the alcohol dragster, really, right?
Yeah, that was in like 1988.
Right. We've got a photo here that somebody sent us, so I've got it up on the screen right now. At Baylands.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, and that's at Fremont,
yeah.
And started actually in B Econo Dragster, though, and they didn't have Junior Dragster when I started. So drove a lot of stuff and took some time off, and then, got back into it in 2000, and then lobbied pretty hard for a couple of years to get a Top Fuel ride, and Tom Sheeler and the high-speed team, gave me a shot.
Now you're back in this. You've been talk a little bit about the difference between trying to get a front motor dragster down the track, what we call the Nostalgia Top Fuel versus the funny car.
They're very different. They're very different. I actually enjoy driving the front engine fueler more, and it's, I think, a little bit more challenging to drive. Everyone feels that everyone has a conception that the short engine car is more difficult, or short wheelbase car is more difficult, but it's really not. You shift in those cars, so it's a little bit more controllable. and there's more downforce because of the body. I just feel like once the dragster gets up on the big end, it's a different deal. It's a different deal,
and
put
if
it that way.
anybody's seen pictures of a dragster, say 800 feet down the track and beyond, there's not a lot of tire to grip the surface, is there?
No, I mean, there's thankfully a little bit more now than there was, 10, 12 years ago. They're a little bit wider, but it's still a narrower tire than the funny car. And they do have a tendency to get up on that tire and dance around on the top end.
Now, even while you've been out of the seat of the WA Field Dragsters, you've been around the pits and helping out Denver Shoots. Last year, you were with Pete Kaiser in the Circuit Breaker. So obviously, your love for that car is you can see that. But you haven't been. When's the last time you've driven one?
I did take. I made one short run in the Circuit Breaker car last year to shake that car down for Pete Wittenberg, and so it's been, God, I don't know, it's been since Mike Fuller's car, and I think that was 2010 or 11.
So you were planning
so it's been a while.
You were planning to come up to Famoso last weekend, but weather kind of took care of that. So now, what are the plans, and how nervous are you?
Well, I mean, the plans, like, let's just make this 1982, right? All-female final like it was when Lucille Lee and Shirley ran. Although, whoever's going to be the other lane is basically going to be my bitch, right? So it's an all-female final.
But
no. Also, all kidding aside, we were looking to test, and the weather has not been cooperating. We're hoping to get a couple of squirts, before we actually have to qualify. But, weather permitting, we'll see if that happens.
now, do you have to come up? There's a test session on Wednesday, a closed test session. Do you try to come up and do that, or just try to come up on Thursday when there's a 3 p.m. session to get a run in?
Yeah, I really can't say because right now we're just watching the weather, trying to figure it out. There's also some opportunity on earlier in the week as well. So we'll see how it goes.
But you want to get a couple of squirts down the track, get you a launch and a half track run, just to make sure everything's dialed in and working right.
Yeah. I mean, they've obviously been working on things over the winter time. This team got its combination down pretty good last year, but there's a couple new things to test, and there's this new person in the car, that hasn't driven this car before, or actually this iteration of this car before, because I actually got my license in this car in 2004, but it's since been front-halved and had a lot of changes made to it.
So a lot of new things. I think you're in the boat that I think many drivers are right now. I know on the Finnick car side, Chris Crable's coming out. They've got a brand new body and a brand new chassis, and there's a lot of other drivers who have new equipment, new changes, and I think everybody just wanted to test last weekend.
Yeah, and everybody's still trying to pull that off, right? So that's been kind of postponed to this weekend and or Monday.
Yeah, so see what happens there. So you're going to win this thing.
I don't like to put a lot of pressure on myself, but I will say that I've been very lucky to have rides and or when I was rideless to have jobs on cars that were really competitive, but I haven't been in the seat of something that has had an opportunity to win when the person in the other lane doesn't screw up, right? And and that's different this year. And so I'm very excited about it. I'm not going to sit here and predict that we're in the winner's circle. I'm just saying that, I'm in a car that's been there a lot.
Well, it sounds you're ready to have fun, and obviously, you're not going to predict you when you've got Tony Bartone. People were talking about he might go funny car racing. Nah, he's going to be back with the dragster. Jim Murphy ran some great times testing at Wild Horse a few weeks ago. The little Chevy with Adam Sorokin and the Champion Speed Sport team, they're going to be tough. So getting even to the final round is not going to be an easy trek.
No, I mean, there's really no leakers in the bunch, right? So our goal for this year is first and foremost to have a great time, have a bunch of fun, and and get that car in the winner's circle. So that's not going to be an easy task. Hopefully the having fun part will be, right? But getting in the winner's circle, it's going to have to be earned. There's nobody been letting us do that on our own easily.
Yeah, and it seems that you've been, even when you've been out of the sport a little bit, out of the seat, you've always stay involved in it. You just can't get away from this, can you?
No, I can't. I can't. I hate watching it from home, although it's great that we get to do that. But I can't. I got to be involved somehow. And if I go and watch, I get pretty grouchy, towards the end of the day. So I've got to have something to do. And so it was really cool that the teams like that Pete Kaiser put me over at at Denver's car. That was really awesome, and also on Wittenberg's car, and that Pete Wittenberg let me do that. It's if I'm not part of something, I can't stand it.
Okay, well, I'm glad you called in, and I'm looking forward to seeing you out here at Famoso. Hopefully the weather, I think looking ahead, the weather looks like it's going to be pretty good leading up to the race and through the race, so that's going to be a lot of fun, and I want to wish you a lot of luck this year.
Thanks, Mike. Looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you later. Okay, we'll be back next week with another Power Hour. Blake Bowser might not be here then, but we'll find, because he's going to be really busy next Wednesday. There's going to be a lot of testing out at Auto Club Famoso Raceway, so we'll find a driver or two out there at the racetrack. Hopefully call in. Hopefully there's no nitro cackling in the background so we can hear him, and we'll have a pretty good show coming up. And real quick, go ahead and show a couple of those slides, Chris, and we'll get out of here. And this is coming up. And this is what Blake was doing last weekend after the rain. We had a pretty good windstorm, so he was cleaning up. Instead of testing, they were cleaning up out there at Auto Club Famoso Raceway. And we'll be back next week with another edition of the Power Hour.